Hello and welcome to Sibos 2025 in Frankfurt. I'm Hannah Wallace, and joining me in the FinextraTV studio now is Michaud and Nattu Srikrishnan from LexisNexis Risk Solutions. Hello to the both of you, thank you for joining us.
Hi Hannah, thanks for having us.
Yep. It's really good to have you in the studio, and we're going to be covering some big topics, beginning with crime compliance. Matt, I'm going to come to you first. Could you take us through those urgent crime compliance challenges that financial institutions are grappling with today?
Sure, yeah, there's a lot of them, and as the world picks up pace, there's a lot of things that are urgent. I think to start, to answer that question, I'm going to go back 5 or 6 years to talk a little bit about how we've come to this moment in time. And there's a lot of big factors that have shaped where we are. First, COVID changed the world. One of the big ways that it changed it is a really rapid acceleration of everything digital. Digital payments, digital banking, and so on. Over the last few years, there have been certain events that have really increased geopolitical tensions, which means sanctions are much more in use than ever before, and the speed of sanctions, compliance, updates, the regulations and the expectations are very different than they ever were. Of course, AI, everything AI across every industry and every country, and that has a pretty massive impact on both what bad actors are doing and all the attack vectors that they have, as well as what companies like us and our clients, banks and others are trying to do to protect themselves. Because keep in mind, a bad actor really needs one attack vector. A bank or other types of companies, they need to protect all angles, and that's a really important challenge. And of course, at the same time, balancing that with a really good customer experience is a challenge. And I think Nattu can talk about some of the specific challenges that we're seeing.
Yeah, so one of the things that we're actually increasingly seeing is, as Matt mentioned, we're seeing an increase in the proliferation of attack vector types. And I'll give that, maybe bring that to light with an example, specifically around deepfakes, right? So AI is being used right now to create deepfake identities that are actually bypassing your legacy KYC systems. And it's also, mostly undetectable to the human eye, right? So that's causing a big problem. It's creating challenges downstream as well from an operations perspective. It's rising costs, and it's obviously driving more regulatory overhead from that angle as well.
So where does artificial intelligence come in then? I know it's a big topic at Sibos, it is across the board, but how is it being used to resolve those customer pain points?
Yeah, so one thing that we're doing at LexisNexis Risk Solutions is finding ways in which we can use AI and automation to address some of these pain points. So if you saw the announcement that we made earlier this year, we bought a company called IDverse that, for those who aren't aware, addresses document authentication and biometric verification needs for our clients. And IDverse is really magical in the sense that it uses AI to help fight AI-driven deepfake activities. And it basically leverages self-learning, deep neural network AI models to capture deepfake fraud and issues that you see with a document. It can be tampering that's there with a document. It could be synthetic documents that are created. And again, these are things that are not detectable to the human eye. So that's one way in which we increasingly use AI, at least on the KYC side. I think Matt can talk a little bit more about what we do in the downstream operations space.
Yeah, and I would just say on that, the sophistication is incredible of a lot of the bad actors, in particular nation states that are very well funded, and so we need to match that with even more sophisticated tools. And AI is in focus for lots of obvious reasons, but there are more, I'd say, basic versions of automation that are incredibly powerful, especially in a financial crimes compliance space, where you want to drive efficiency in a really predictable, reliable way that your auditors and your examiners are going to understand. And so one of many examples of what we do is part of our screening solutions learn from past decisions. So how it works is you're going to screen a transaction, a cross-border payment, for example. And if that alert goes to an analyst to be investigated, the decision she makes is really important to train that model. And if you have, say, for example, a couple decisions that are made over a few months on the same transaction, because a lot of them are recurring, you don't generate that alert next time. It seems basic on the surface, but it's incredibly powerful to run a tighter program.
Well, thank you for sharing those tangible examples of how AI and automation are being used to tackle those pain points. And what about innovation? Let's talk more about innovation. How can you prioritize the innovation coming through amongst all the different trends that we're hearing about? How do you determine what's a real meaningful solution?
Yeah, so one of the things that we do is we're constantly looking for ways in which we can leverage modern architecture and technology to address our core client needs, right? We're fortunate enough at LexisNexis Risk Solutions to be in a position where we have a lot of really good ideas that come from various teams. There's really, really talented people. And we now have to address the million-dollar question of prioritizing these initiatives. And what we do is basically going back to the basics, right? You go to your customers, you ask them what their core pain points are, you break it down to understand how they actually address those needs. Then you get into, all right, what kind of outcomes are you actually solving for? And then you address how can you make that better, faster, cheaper, right? And then, if AI makes sense, we use AI. If something else makes sense, we use whatever that might be. But it really boils down to what clients really want and how we can address that. And one of the things that we take a lot of pride in is we leverage our client community, which is basically a network of large financial institutions and other types of clients that are within our base to help shape our own roadmap. And that is something that's powerful because we build it with them for them.
Yeah, the basics of prioritization are important. If you have 47 priorities, you have none. So you got to focus in on what matters most, and you have to invest. We invest a lot of time and money in research and development and improving our products. Back to my point about the pace of evolution in the world in so many ways is like nothing we've ever seen. You need to invest a lot of time in the right ways to keep up with that.
Some good advice weaved in there, and you spoke about community, so talking about the role of collaboration next when developing these approaches. What's the importance of collaboration?
It's critical. It's not too touched on before. So we have a really close client community. We have many thousands of customers across the globe, so we can't be as connected to all of them as we'd like. But some of our largest customers, for example, within payment screening that I touched on before, we work with many, honestly most of the large banks across the world. And so we have forums. We have one this Friday, for example, where we bring our clients together. I think a lot of companies, a lot of vendors would be a little nervous to do that. I've been at and seen places where that's a little nerve-wracking. We do it because we think it's the right answer. We learn from them, they learn from each other, and it rises our performance, makes everything better. That's with our clients. I'll touch on some things and you can expand on. We also have a really close community with many dozens of partners, alliances across the world. We spend time with regulators to make sure that they understand what we're doing. At the end of the day, you talked about results earlier. One of the most important results for our clients is, are they passing their exams? Are they passing their audits? And we work with our clients and also with the examiners to make sure that they can stay current on what we're doing, and their feedback informs how we approach the market.
Yeah, and just to sort of bring that to light a little bit more, we've actually worked with the Royal Foundation to be able to address wildlife trafficking, and we've actually helped them capture bad actors that are involved in poaching or just making wildlife being used in ways that they shouldn't be, right? So that's one thing that we also do on the side to help out the community and the society in many ways.
Yeah, it's a great example because it's probably not in focus of what most people would think of financial crimes.
Sure, yes.
There are so many different types of financial crimes in the world, and I'm glad you raised that.
Wonderful. Well, it's so exciting to hear what LexisNexis Risk Solutions are doing across the board, as you say, and great to have you both in the studio sharing your insights. I'll let you get back to Sibos to share with the rest of the delegates, but thank you very much.
Thanks for having us, Anna.